I was thinking what to speak about today, and I have found lately that the best thing to do would be, because the speaker should speak what the audience also wants to know. And sometimes we speak, we choose topics of our own, which is also nice, but sometimes it's good to know what people want to know, and also address those things which can clear up their either confusion or you can say doubts. So today I am thinking Hare Krishna. Today I am thinking it would be nice if some of you start with some questions, if possible, and then I can just develop on that. Is that okay? So, who would want to ask the first question? Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. You'll have to speak a little louder because my ears are not good. Oh, that will be better. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Pranam.
Pranam.
Prabhu, my question is simple. How we can consolidate our sadhana? So we, as a practicing devotees for a while, how we can consolidate and make further progress?
Consolidate our sadhana.
Yes, thank you.
How do you consolidate sadhana? Sadhana has many different parts to it. Initially, when we want to, or we are interested in making spiritual progress, at that time, our sadhana involves basically following some rules and regulations and trying to chant proper rounds. Now the sadhanas that Srila Prabhupada has given is such that it is the process, and it is also when you reach perfection, you continue doing the same thing, nothing different. So, it's like many times, you take up a process, but when you reach your goal, you give up the process because you have already attained it. But in Krishna consciousness, whatever is the method that you use for your progress, that method is part of the original goal also. So it is a very different thing. Now there are some, sadhana actually means that we do not have much attraction to God, but we know it's good for us if we develop our attachment to God. And knowing that it is good for us, and knowing what we should be doing and not be doing, we follow a certain process out of, you can say, because it needs to be done, not because I'm a great lover of God, no. Because that becomes then raga, and most of us are not having any raga or attachment to God. But we only follow the path of devotion, more or less in the beginning, with the idea of, I want to protect myself in case something goes wrong. That is generally why people take to religious life, And that's how actually most of the preachers go about preaching, isn't it? They actually go to the people and they make them afraid that if you don't follow the path of religion, you're going to go to hell. And and then you're going to burn for eternity. These are the kind of statements they make. So, inducing someone within his heart, he wants to do whatever he likes. But knowing that he could get into trouble, he voluntarily accepts certain restrictions and certain procedures to help him come above in spiritual life so he doesn't run into any troubles. That stage is called sadhana. It is not because you have great love for God that you're doing it, but because I'm afraid what will happen to me. It's mostly focused around one's own concern. So, that is what, so first I'm trying to define what sadhana is. It is a voluntary acceptance of some inconvenience sometimes in order to achieve a higher level. Not necessarily that you have great attachment for the level. It's not like that. But what happens by following sadhana, if we follow proper step-by-step procedure of sadhana, what will eventually happen is that you will start developing love for the Lord. Now, love is more powerful than simply rules and regulations. Love is even more powerful than simply business transactions with God. And love is something that if you have of God, God gets purchased by it. It's a very high level. And we always say that the highest attainment is not God or His kingdom, but highest attainment is love for the Lord. Because if you have that, everything else will come to you automatically. You don't have to strive for it separately. So how do we consolidate sadhana? What are the sadhana that we follow? Okay, we follow 4 regulatory principles. No meat, fish. How do you consolidate that? We can't say, okay, to consolidate it now we merge all the meat eating into one. Okay, what do we then? What we say only one animal? No. How do you consolidate that? You can't consolidate that. Similarly, if you look at no meat, fish, eggs, okay, no gambling. Gambling involves so many different ways of gambling. How do we consolidate that? Then illicit sex. Okay, there are all different forms of intimate relationships people just try to experience, but how do you consolidate that? I mean, to consolidate meaning meaning that just marriage helps in that, so that our senses don't go wild. But otherwise, every aspect of that attachment is harmful. So it's part of sadhana. Then you look at the last one, which is intoxication. Any type of intoxication you take, it will actually affect your consciousness, and we would not be able to concentrate on our goal. So therefore, consolidating sadhana is, how do you consolidate chanting, by the way, which we are told to do also. So no, we don't consolidate any of that. There are many varieties of it, and each one actually is this part of the same thing. It's already consolidated. In the Bhagavatam, 4 things are mentioned. Dyutam panam striya shuna yatra adharmas chaturvida. So, if you want to say it has been consolidated already in these 4. And so we refrain from that and we chant the holy name. Now, in order to do this effectively, you need other things with your sadhana. Because if you don't do the other things, these things may not be possible for you to stick to. And what are those other things?
Association.
Yes, the key one. In fact, that is the most important one. You have to have the right association, because if you are with the wrong people trying to do the right thing, it is not possible. You have to be the right people to do the right thing. Then, apart from Sangha, what else do you need?
Reading scriptures.
Reading scriptures, yes. Scriptural study is important because scriptures are the guiding light. Scriptures also give you the ability to discriminate what is good for you and what is not. Isn't it? Scriptures give you the ability to what to discriminate against. Should I go this way or this way? That what is beneficial for us is actually taught by the scripture. And that's how we know how to discriminate. And if we don't have any discrimination, then we can't progress, and actually we put ourselves in danger. Suppose you don't have any discrimination, then you put yourself in danger straight away. A fish is trying to look for something to eat, and someone has put a line with a bait at the end. This fish has no discrimination for the hook on. She's just looking at the food. It will just get killed. You know. Same thing with the honeybees which go into the lotus flower. The fish is lured by the tongue. The honeybees are lured by the fragrance of the lotus flower. And he keeps hovering around and gets so maddened with that fragrance that actually then he doesn't fly away before the petals close, then he's trapped inside. And many times in the lotus flower, once it's closed again, you find these dead insects. So each one of our bodily senses is attracted to a certain object. Elephant is also attracted to a she-elephant. So the male elephant, how is it caught? By a big hole in the ground, cover it up with grass or something, and then a she-elephant is put in front. So he's attracted by that, but what happens? His independence is lost. He gets trapped, he's captured. So each one of those senses will give you if we don't control them, they actually put us into big trouble. And therefore sadhana involves controlling the senses. And controlling the senses is done by the mind. But if the mind is allowed to wander wildly, how is it going to be able to control the senses itself? It's not possible. So there are so many aspects to sadhana, not just one. And I think all of them matter. But the key, if you want to say what is the consolidating factor, is just association of devotees, reading shastras, learning them, and under their guidance actually practicing these rules and regulations. And gradually the heart will become cleansed. And when the heart is cleansed, then you will develop a taste. So taste comes later. Right now we have a taste for material things. But later the taste will increase and become very prominent in Krishna. Then we will automatically lose taste for these mundane things. Another method is stop your senses. Artificially. They are wanting something, deprive them. And a time will come when you start indulging them again, out of proportion. So that's a very bad situation. Most of the yogis, they fall down because they are artificially trying to control their senses. But we are giving replacement for the tongue, taste, Krishna Prasad. What we hear, we give replacement for that. So everything is replaced with something Krishna conscious. Then sadhana works. So sadhana is to be followed by everyone. And mind you, people say, oh, it's very difficult. No, it's not. I think people are accepting so much voluntary trouble just to maintain themselves nowadays. They are doing so much tapasya. Do you agree or not? Just in order to maintain a family, what do you have to do? My God, nowadays. It's so difficult. Previously, our household used to have like something like, long, big families, right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people were still staying under one roof. Now, two of us to stay under one roof is very difficult. So, tapasya, our level of tolerance is getting less and less. Our level of, patience is becoming very meager. We don't have patience. After a little while we become so, why is it not happening? And then we become agitated. And then we lose our composure. So it's very, very difficult. So therefore, it has to be done on a, sadhana has to be done on a daily basis. Because it's very difficult. Every day we have to remind ourselves, you have to do this. You have to do this. Every day we are saying, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Every day you do this. But if you don't do it every day, you just miss it about 7 days and you see how you automatically go back to where you were, in your comfortable niche. And then we lose the determination to go forward. And this is very dangerous. That was a very good question. So I would say there is no consolidation. You have to follow every single aspect. And it's not many. There are few only that we mentioned. If a handful, within the 10 fingers you can count them, what you have to do, and you can do it. But it's very simple. Is that answer? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Actually, Prabhu, you may have already answered the question with the answer with the first question. Prabhu, you have so much experience in Krishna consciousness, and for someone who's been doing bhakti, let's say for the last 7 years or 10 years, what would you suggest them, Prabhu? Because the more we practice Krishna consciousness, we know that the time is of essence. And how do we, maybe fast track is not the word, but what are the basic things that we need to do? On top of Shravanam, Kirtanam, chanting, what are the short things that we need to do so that we are definitely steadily progressing in bhakti, but at the same time, catching hold of those things will mean that we are properly utilizing the time. Instead of taking another 20 years, 25 years, and then realizing, I should have actually done this 20 years ago. I would have been more blissful, I would have got that rasa more and more. So what are some of the things? So,
there is one word for it only. Now, seriousness of purpose. That's all. If you are very serious about it, then you will get it, everything. Now, suppose someone has been doing it for 7 years. Within 7 years, talk about 7 years, you talk about only 3 weeks. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says in Jaiva Dharma, he says if someone is just got initiated by a guru, and he sincerely and very attentively chants the holy name and practices the roots of sadhana with full heart and full concentration, in 3 weeks he can have direct darshan of the Lord. But, sometimes we make resolutions and then we see after some time we've been following it for so long. See, this is one of Maya's trick, that we follow it for so long, and then one day an opportunity arises where we think, okay, I make an exemption today, it should not matter because I am, accomplished now. I have this self-confidence that comes from practicing for so long. Once will be okay, doesn't matter. It will not even affect my consciousness. Maybe it will not. But you have already allowed the enemy in. It's Maya looks like that. If you are very, very staunch and strong, it's Maya's biggest weapon is what? Let's see. What is Maya's biggest weapon?
Temptation.
Huh? No.
Ego.
Our weakness, whatever weakness we have.
Sorry, can someone say what she's saying? I can't. Weakness? Our weakness is the biggest weapon. There is another thing.
Temptation.
Pride. Ego, person's pride. Ego and pride.
Ego and pride, the biggest weapon. Because that's the last thing to come out. So maybe to some extent, but there is another weapon she uses, and it works without fail.
Loss.
Huh?
Temptation.
All of these are correct answers. Don't get me wrong. But I am looking for that one thing.
Complacency.
Yes?
Our negligence.
Our ignorance.
Negligence.
Going against the Shastra.
Going against the Shastras.
Taking things for granted.
Taking things for granted. They are all correct.
Distraction from focus. We are focusing on sadhana. You're getting distracted.
But what is Maya really? What is her strategy?
Nothing will happen.
I-
If you do this, nothing will happen. It's like some sort of kind of.
Okay. Yeah, that is how Maya captures you. She is trying to make you forget Krishna. Is that what you're saying? That's the biggest weapon. Of course, that's Maya's only business. But what I'm saying is, what is her strategy?
When you fail to follow the order of your guru, when you fail to follow. Say when you fail to follow the order of your guru.
When you fail the order, that's part of Maya. So, even that, it is a very, very basic thing that she tries to do. Okay, you have answered many things. So let me come back to it. What is Maya's biggest strategy? To make you waste your time, and you have no more time left, and you have already come to the point of death. That's her biggest weapon. Maya's biggest strategy is how she can make you waste your time in things that do not matter. Because ultimately the death will come, and all of these things that actually do not matter. That's what we are always so busy in. So her program is to somehow or other keep us busy in things which are useless for us when it comes to the point of death. This is our program. And that's her biggest weapon. How do I make it so that he is unsuccessful in this lifetime? In this lifetime you are unsuccessful. So what is the only thing Maya has got? We have eternal time. In this material world we have past, present and future. So when we get this body, we have been given a certain segment of time. And what is this? Time is continuous. But the body has a certain segment. It starts here, the body ends here. And this is your window of opportunity which has been given to you as a human birth. And now, Maya's business is to keep you in the material world. So she has to make sure that within this window, I have to make sure that he doesn't achieve 100% Krishna consciousness. But somehow or other this way. So she can actually, even when you become an advanced devotee, someone becomes an advanced devotee, then Maya uses the advanced status to allure you into, profit, adoration and distinction. Just like, everywhere I go nowadays, this is my biggest problem. My biggest problem is, I don't feel I am qualified, but people put me up here. You don't just judge by the age. You know, there are many, many things. I consider myself right on the floor right now. I have to still go further, even after this many years. It is actually, progress is unlimited. There is no end to progress, so therefore we are always on the lower end. That's how we have to see ourselves. Otherwise, in one instant, the ego can come and then everything is finished. And Krishna doesn't tolerate ego even in the gopis, which are the highest of the devotees, what to speak of us. So someone gets proud of their sadhana, someone gets proud because, oh, they are attending every Mangalarti. You know, even if you start following properly, then this is what happens after that. So everything gets ruined, starts getting ruined. So how much focused we have to be on our goal and not the glamour that comes around it while we are doing it. If we keep that as our focus then, and always keep ourselves humble, not artificially, genuinely. And how do you keep yourself humble, genuinely? When you always realize what is your position. Jivera Swarup Hoye, Krishna Nitya Das. Or 1/10,000th the part of the tip of the hair. In comparison to the whole cosmic manifestation, what are we? We are zero, nothing. Our magnitude is zero, nothing. But still, because our only asset is that we are part and parcel of Krishna. That is our only asset. And if we act in that asset, recognizing that, that is our actual liberation. So, 7 years, suppose I have spent in Krishna consciousness, how can I speed up Prabhu very fast? The fastest way to progress is to associate with the most advanced devotees. Because the devotees, if you are fortunate enough to get the association of the most advanced devotees, then naturally you will come up very fast. That is, if you really take their association. Now there is one point I want to say here. I also said it in some other program the other day, that we are hearing these things. Hearing is called Sangha, association. But when you act according to what you hear, that is called service. So साधु का संग करना और साधु की सेवा करने में इतना ही अंतर है. Sadhu sang means to actually hear what he says, listen to it. And once you listen to it and you know what is to be done, and you start doing it, then you are serving the sadhu's lotus feet. So Prabhupada has given so many instructions in his books. Srila Prabhupada has given all the guidelines. If we listen to him and practically apply that in our lives, then we are serving Srila Prabhupada directly. No difference. If Prabhupada was physically present here, you serving him physically, it is the same. Exactly the same. Our biggest problem is that we are not able to follow properly. And for that we have to find devotees who follow the most. And take somehow or other, grab the mercy from them. और क्या कह सकते हैं? I can't say anything.
Just a follow-up question.
Yes.
How do we identify the most advanced devotees?
How do we identify that? You have to see the scriptures are there. You will know. One thing. Okay, I'll give you an example. Suppose many times, I think everyone has experienced this, that if you hear something from someone, you can more or less realize immediately whether that is right or wrong. Am I right? You will know it immediately. Where does that come from? Yeah? What is correct and what is incorrect, what you should be doing and not doing, this inclination is calling you from within the heart. You know, that ability everyone has been given already. So, if you have that ability, when you meet a Mahatma, you will know. You will know. They met Prabhupada. Who met Prabhupada? These Western devotees who knew nothing previously about Krishna consciousness. They met Prabhupada. How did they recognize that he is such a great devotee? It is not rocket science. You know, everyone's intuition from within their heart, their super soul tells them what is right, what is wrong. It's already given. And if you want to know their qualities, read the Bhagavad Gita. In that, Arjuna is asking for our sake these same questions. How do I recognize someone who is on that level, transcendental level? How can I recognize? Then Krishna gives all the different qualities you can see in them. That will be there. So therefore, everything is already given like an open book. And our time, we should not give to Maya. Because we don't have time even for reading and finishing and understanding Prabhupada's books, what to speak of anything else. We don't have the time. So whatever little time we have to use for our maintenance of the body and keeping the mind peaceful, because the mind has to be also peaceful in order to execute Krishna consciousness. So we have to see what is our mind peaceful? We are always agitated, or we are always in anxiety. What is causing these things? Evaluate that and go forward. And in terms of practicality, how to do this? How do you practically do this? You take, if you don't plan your life out, it will never happen. You are going to buy a house. You plan, you will see how much money am I making, what will be my loan amount, how much interest will be paid. You plan everything out. You've already then, you project the number of years. You see, take note of the inflation or whatever. How much planning is needed just to buy a house? And in spiritual life, to attain goal of life, no planning. जैसे चलता है, कोई planning नहीं करना. When I get time, I'll squeeze this Krishna consciousness in it. But what we should be doing is, we first squeeze the Krishna consciousness in. Whatever remaining time is left, that होए तो ठीक है, ना होए तो ठीक. Did I say something inappropriate? Everyone is very silent. I don't know what is going on in your minds.
It's very practical. We were thinking about Raghunath Goswami. We were hearing a lecture where he said Raghunath Goswami used to finish. He was very quickly finishing other things because he wanted to chant more and more.
Yes. And while we are chanting, we are thinking of what I have to finish. Right? And while finishing those things, we are thinking, I haven't chanted my rounds. And so you never concentrate on what you're doing really. While you sit down to chant, you know this is your time for chanting, but I'm worried about what I have to do here. It's not good. That is why we remain where we are, we don't progress very fast. So there is a lecture given by, I actually would recommend that you all listen to this lecture. It's given by Bhakti Rasamrita Swami, and it is called Being in the Moment. I think that's what it's called, if you can find it. He gave it to a corporate setting. and he was telling them about utilization of time and how there are so many distractions in this world, mobile phones, this, that, the time is the factor. You can hear that lecture, it will be nice for everyone actually, it's very wonderful. Any other points or questions? Yes, go.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. How we can encourage our kids in Krishna consciousness? The effective way to tell them how to come in the Krishna consciousness and very effective for them to bring in the Krishna consciousness.
The children, how can we bring up children?
Children. How do we bring up children in Krishna consciousness?
Because now it is a little bit more destructive. In the schools from the beginnings they start using the iPad, and now the new virus come is the AI. Everything is AI. They can look the Krishna who is in AI. So it is very difficult for the parents.
Yes, I have seen this many times happening, and this is actually a very current problem, a very big problem. So, I can give some practical suggestions. Right? The children are being sent to school. Right? Now we have a community. We have a community of devotees, and they are sending the children out to so many schools. If our children don't have are not with devotee children in the schools, then it can be very dangerous. So first thing is that within our community, we have to create like a group of all the children coming and meeting on a regular basis so that they become friends with each other. While practicing Krishna conscious bhajans or some fun activities or whatever, but it's got to be all Krishna conscious. Once they develop the friendship, then they should also go to the same schools together so that they can associate with each other rather than having to associate with others. So you could find probably it's hard because not everyone is in different areas and different places. But if you find out where devotee children are going to get educated, send your devotee children to those schools where there are other devotee children being trained. So that's one aspect. One aspect I thought was actually a good thing, that they stay amongst themselves so they can talk about the things that they do together rather than associating with complete people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Another thing is that children, I find one of the biggest problems, I'll tell you, with children or raising, nurturing children is that the parents want the children to be first-class devotee when they themselves do not set a good example. Big problem. The parents would be slack. I just came from Adelaide, and I saw completely wonderful devotee parents, right? But the parents were slack in one thing only, and the child picked up on it, and that became the major issue, that the child actually became led astray. One little thing that a parent can do wrong, sometimes the children just grab onto that part because they are looking for an excuse. So the best example is the parents have to be good examples themselves. The parents are the first gurus for the child. So they have to make sure they have to put in a lot of sacrifice for that. Very, very easy to say this. Very difficult to do it. Right? I'm saying it, I know. It's very easy for me to say it. When you look at the practical terms, it's very difficult. So therefore, again, that point comes in, association. Key, association. They also need association. They need association which is fun. They need it in their terms, not in the parents' terms. So therefore they have to find their equal peers with whom they can actually reciprocate and relate to. When that happens, if we create that kind of environment, then our children will be safe. And especially when they reach the teenage years, very difficult time. That's the point where many devotee children in the past, in our society, who have been raised as devotees, all of a sudden just flip over. And they want to see the material world. So how to save them? We have to be looking at what caused that to happen. Each case is different. And then after finding the cause, we have to then provide a solution. So it's not a blanket answer. Every case is a little bit different. And we will have to customize the advice according to the kind of problem that it is. I don't know what to say at the moment, right? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
That is.
Who is the senior most person who fought in Mahabharata?
Who is the senior most person who fought in Mahabharata? Seems like a trick question. Right? Because you've got some other question up if I answer that. It's a very easy answer. Anybody? Who is the senior most person?
Krishna.
Yes, Krishna. Aham Adi Devanam Maharishinam Cha Sarvasha. Okay, not the Lord said, as a person, who is the senior most? Bhishma Dev? Anyone? If someone told you Bhishma Dev, what would you say? No. So, looks like the audience is yes, true.
Spiritual master.
The spiritual master. You're talking about who fought in the battle of Kurukshetra. You're trying to, what is the purpose of the question anyway?
I never read in any of these books. I just heard in some videos, but I want to make time to
Yes, so can you tell us what you read?
It's Bahari, who is the Santanu's brother. Still he was in the war along with the Champanas.
Yeah. Yeah. Another Balika, right? Yeah. Yeah, I also read that. Now, there is another people, there are about 7 or 8 Chiranjeevis who live forever. Vyasadeva is one of them, Hanuman is one of them, then Ashwatthama is one of them. Vibhishan is one of them. I know for certain about Vibhishan because I had a little bit of a... Anyway, I lived in Jagannath Puri for 1 year. And I lived in an apartment. And one time in the afternoon, evening, when it was already dark, I went up to the roof of the building. And I was chanting there, walking back and forth, and I saw a very strange thing. Because from that building I knew in which direction the temple dome was of Jagannath Puri. So there was this streak of light that went, like shoo, it's like a real bolt of light. And it went and it just stood still above the temple. It stayed there for about maybe 25-30 minutes. And then it went back in the same direction. So I couldn't think of anything else that does things like that except a pushpa viman or something. You know, demigods playing something, but I really saw it with my eyes and I was like, wow, this is something unique. Then I heard the story of, Vibhishan. Some of you might know this one, in Jagannath Puri. How many of you heard it? No?
We had a Sriran Prabhu, we had a Sriran where Vishnu was.
So the one that I have heard, I'll tell you, is, do you want to hear?
Yes.
Yes, you're curious? I'm taking more time than I should be, I think. Anyway, so I have about 10 minutes more. So, Jagannath Puri temple, the main doors of the temple, the main inner sanctum, where the deities are, those doors are locked with like huge keys about this size by the head pujaris right at the end of the day when the temple is to close. So the pujari closed the door and he went home. He comes the next morning and he opens the door. He had already cleaned the altar and nothing was there, but he saw that there were very unique kind of flowers which were actually at the feet of the deities, all three of them. And he saw this flower and he could not understand how did these flowers get there and nobody could come into this inner sanctum. How is this happening? So he was a little worried, but he didn't know what to do about it. So he just let it go. Then it happened again. Second night, third night. Then he started getting really worried, someone is coming inside. So he just could not tolerate it. He had to know. So one night, he locked the door from the inside and he stayed inside. And it was around 2 in the morning when actually all of a sudden a Brahman appeared he was right in there. It was like normal Brahman. Some Brahman appeared inside all of a sudden and just started putting those. And then he came out of his hiding place. And he said, you can't be an ordinary person. Who are you? Please tell me who you are. He said, I am just an ordinary Brahman. No, you can't be. You have come here every time and you brought these unique flowers which are not available anywhere, and so please, I beg to you, please tell me who you are. So he told him, he said, I am Vibhishan. I am Vibhishan, I have just come to have darshan of Lord Jagannath in Baladev's birthday. So then the pujari was very, very keen and he said, please give me something, I really want to see you in your real form, not this form. So he said, yeah, it will be too much for you to see my real form. He said, no, I want to see it. So you know how high this dome is, the main dome of the temple? It's really high. He occupied the entire, it was like he just appeared and these armlets were of gold and they were as big as, tractor tires, more or less. That's how huge. I mean, he could be even bigger than that because he has those cities, right? So then he asked him to please give him some token as a memory. So he took out this thing, a big tire, and he gave it to him. That thing is full of complete gold, and they don't actually tell which Brahman it is, but that Brahman actually brought that thing to his home and it's still in the Brahman's house. So it's not that the devatas don't come. Sometimes for these amazing temples, they would actually come and take darshan and do all of those things. So he is one of them. Now, why I brought this up? These are Chiranjeevi persons who actually stay for a long time. Right? Another example in our Shastras is the example of Santanu, Maharaj Santanu. He is the father of Vishnu. Now that was so long back. He had a brother called Devapi. That Devapi is still living here. He is waiting for the end of Kali Yuga. Kalki avatar will come. So this Devapi, who is the brother of Santanu, he will actually become the ruler or the king. As soon as Kalki avatar comes, Kalki will actually make him rule the whole world. And that's how all these changes are going to take place as well. And he has another person with him, and these two are going to be visited by Kalki avatar when the right time comes. And they stay at a certain village, and the name of the village is given. And I googled that name, and I found where it is. I was thinking, should I go and try and catch up with Devapi or something? So, yeah, this is all there. Some things that are beyond people's comprehension still today. Wonderful things.
I have a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Based on some of the questions, this is always I've felt that my Guru used to say only one who is trained can train others. Okay, so
This is a very wonderful topic.
So the question is,
Yes.
most of us, I talk from my point of view, we were not born devotees. Our parents were not. So that you mentioned, parents are first guru. So we did not, at least I only speak for myself. No, I did not learn many things from my parents. What is right, what is wrong, spiritually. So 11:30, and we start a family 11:30 as well. And then along the way, somehow by the grace of Guru, some transformation comes. So that is where I stand. So with this 11:30, how can I train and then expect perfection? So what can be done? Of course I can't undo my past. I can't go back and rewire. I just have to move forward. So with this 11:30 training, so how can we perfect our life?
Okay. Maybe this is the last question I take. First, I want to say something else. It does not matter what your past is once you take to Krishna consciousness. Yes, there are some advantages, but birth doesn't matter. Intelligence doesn't matter how much you have. All of these things, how much educated you are, what kind of human body you've got, nothing really matters for that. What really matters is you get the mercy of a Guru. Once the Guru accepts you, you have taken a different birth. The first birth is through your mother and father. And when you accept a Guru, that's your spiritual birth. It has nothing to do with the previous birth. And that's when your spiritual life really starts. So after you have accepted your Guru as a father, if you do some bad things, which you're not supposed to be, then yes, you can say that I'm not qualified to preach. Or you should actually first correct yourself, and then you can teach that thing to others. That is the general thing, because generally you have to be setting the example for it. But otherwise, anyone who is an initiated devotee, he is to be considered born in a very nice situation now. He is reborn with a clean slate. And that's what the Guru gives you, a clean slate. What does Diksha mean? Dik and Sha. Dik, actually he is giving you the mantra and he is removing all your sinful burden from you. Because as long as sinful burden is there, you cannot progress further. So the Guru at the time of initiation or Diksha takes away the burden of your karma. So now you have a clean slate and you can practice bhakti without any impediment. So therefore, actually, it does not matter whether you were born in a devotee family or not. It does not matter. As soon as you've taken initiation from a guru, you have surrendered to follow the spiritual path of life. Your new birth has started. Spiritual birth. So then you can preach, no problem. And you can preach, you may say that, I'm not very qualified to preach. I know very little. So whatever little you know, you preach that. Don't preach more than what you know. Or make up something. That will not be good. Now, I want to come to the last point, which is a very important point which I have experienced again and again, and I've come across many such situations, very lamentable situations actually. That person who has not been trained properly, like you mentioned. I see someone becomes initiated and in a very short time, within a few months, he's given a position. Many instances I have seen where the position gets to the head, and because of lack of training as a disciple, he's already become like a guru first. When that happens, he does not do well in his spiritual life. That's the kind of person who gets enamored by pride, by honor, reputation. All of these things is what starts taking root inside his heart. So one first has to become a disciple, proper disciple, before one actually becomes a guru. And one who has not been under the discipline, he will not be able to guide others properly. So this is the most important aspect of keeping ourselves safe. Do not try to become guru. Try to become a good disciple. If you try to become a good disciple, you're automatically a good guru. That's all. Right? Anything else? I was asked to stop at 7:30, but there's one more question. Can I take that? Okay. Yeah.
Prabhuji, the last few words that you mentioned, a few sentences, it just felt like you were just telling my life story. Someone becomes initiated and then a few months later pushed into a position where you have to preach. How do we manage Prabhu in that situation? Because,
you manage it like how Prabhupada's disciples managed it. They came only 6 months' time. Prabhupada sent them, you go there, start a center, you go there. Give them a lot of responsibility and things to do, and with no facilities, nothing. And if they have to work hard and come up with and trying to follow the Guru's instructions, you will see they will become more mature ones. So they will probably still last. That is the only way. So Prabhupada did that. Prabhupada did not wait for someone to serve him for a long time. He immediately sent them out. But they had, the only thing was that they had absolute faith in Prabhupada. We got to have absolute faith in our Guru and go forward. As servants of our Guru, then the pride won't come. But if we go, I am the best disciple of my Guru, then all finished. Everything starts downfall from there. So pride cometh, there is an English saying, pride cometh before the fall. You become proud, you'll fall. It's 100%. And sometimes Krishna punishes pride by killing you, and sometimes Krishna punishes you by actually not killing you, but organizing some instance where you learn your lesson. Mostly as far as demons go, he kills them. But when someone like Indra, who is a devotee or some sort of a demigod position, Indra did such a nasty thing, but Krishna actually let him go. Still let him go. Because Krishna thought, whatever he did, it has caused something better for me, because now all the residents are able to come very close underneath the Govardhan hill with me, and therefore this is a better side to it. So for everything we have to see what is the good side. Even when bad things happen, we have to see them. Hare Krishna. Yeah.